Apparently so. Hello, and thank you all for coming out this evening. My name is Trina Welling, and I will be giving an informative speech on how DNA evidence has dramatically changed the way that police collect evidence in criminal cases, especially in rape and murder victims. Imagine a single drop of blood, a single strand of hair, or even oils in a fingerprint, which has the power to imprison someone for life or even sentence them to death. Over the last 20 years, the science of forensic DNA analysis has evolved tremendously and has become a very important piece of compelling evidence that can be used in the prosecution or defense of criminal or civil charges. Today, I will explain what DNA is, what forensic DNA analysis is, and give a few examples of different situations where DNA evidence was used to alter the outcome of legal proceedings. First, let me explain what DNA is. According to People and Discoveries at PBS.org, DNA is the building block or the genetic blueprint of life. DNA was first described by scientists Francis H.E. Crick and James D. Watson in 1953. Crick and Watson identified the double helix structure of DNA, which resembled a twisted ladder. They established the role of DNA as the material that makes up the genetic code of all living organisms. Now, what is DNA evidence? According to the Journal of Forensic Nursing, DNA evidence is evidence that can be used to link offenders to crimes, exonerate the wrongfully accused, and it can even identify human remains. It is evidence of a particular person's DNA and is used when identifying a particular individual. Human DNA can be extracted from blood, hair, teeth, saliva, skin cells, and other bodily fluids. DNA evidence is collected by a trained forensic pathologist using highly sophisticated sterilized equipment and procedures. DNA collection is an analysis of an individual's genetic code. When DNA evidence is obtained from a suspect, the criminal justice system already has a sample of that DNA from the crime scene that scientists can analyze to see if the two samples match. DNA evidence can also be properly sealed, refrigerated, and stored for use in appeals or separate related cases. Let's take a look at a little history behind DNA. According to an article published by Forensic Magazine at forensicmag.com, DNA analysis was first used in England in the late 1970s in determining paternity cases. If the paternity of a parent were in question, then samples of DNA were taken from the child and both suspecting parents to determine if they were linked. DNA analysis was introduced into criminal prosecution in 1986. Officers from a local police service in a small borough in central England approached Dr. Alec Jeffreys of the University of Leicester to ask whether this new technology might be able to assist in the investigation of the sexual assault of two girls' murders to determine if the crimes were linked. Jeffreys analyzed the samples from the deceased girls and developed DNA profiles of the perpetrator in each crime, which were found to be identical. A suspect who had confessed to one of the crimes was found to have a different DNA profile, proving his innocence. I found it interesting that the first application of DNA in a police investigation resulted in the exoneration of the accused. The actual perpetrator was later arrested and convicted. When the use of DNA as legal evidence first began, there were many challenges in determining its admissibility in court. However, in 2001, after showing the results of the testing were continuously accurate and reliable, those challenges were resolved. President George W. Bush signed the Justice for All Act in 2004, which greatly extended funding for research and the judicial guidelines on use. This act also gave convicted felons the opportunity for DNA testing in order to prove their innocence. According to the Federal Bureau of Investigations at FBI.gov, DNA databases have been created on the local, national, and international levels. These databases take DNA samples for all serious offenses upon arrest. The results are then put into the database. They're scanned each time a person is incarcerated. The benefit of Canada's database was demonstrated within months of its creation. A murder case had remained unsolved for 12 years and had included more than 1,000 suspects with no arrests. The case was reopened when the stored DNA matched that of an entry from a new, unrelated conviction. The police investigators were provided with the information and were able to solve the cold case as well. Techniques have been developed to predict some of the physical traits of a person's potential height, eye color, hair color, ethnicity, age, gender, and facial features. The unknown human DNA profile can be used by police investigators to increase their situational awareness and enhance their likelihood of determining a suspect. Police investigators can identify perpetrators through kinship relationships to relatives whose DNA may already be included in the DNA database. This is called familial DNA. This new technique led police to 57-year-old Lonnie David Franklin Jr., who was charged with 11 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder in the infamous Grim Sleeper slayings. The high-profile case had languished unsolved and had haunted the files of the LAPD's cold case unit for years. According to the Attorney General's office, the suspect's son, Christopher, was arrested and convicted for unrelated felony weapons charge. When his DNA was entered into the database of convicted felons, detectives were alerted to a partial match to evidence found at the Grim Sleeper crime scenes. Police began investigating Christopher's relatives and found a match in his father, Lonnie Franklin. Police said that Lonnie Franklin had not previously been a suspect at the Grim Sleeper investigation until now. DNA evidence has come a long way since its first use in paternity testing. It has played a key role in the investigation and the solving of numerous crimes. Police today rely heavily on forensic DNA analysis to provide them with the intelligence that was previously unavailable to them. Because of the evolution of DNA testing, police investigators and forensic scientists have a much better ability to tell a story that otherwise would not be able to tell itself. Again, thank you all for coming out this evening. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves.